Hello, I'm Ron Strickland. This webcast is one of a series in which I'm presenting comments on topics in literature and cultural studies. This particular installment is one of a group on William Shakespeare's play, A Midsummer Night's Dream. And here I'm going to say some things about the way that Shakespeare uses different registers of poetic language to achieve effects of characterization and comedy in the play. Shakespeare uses both prose and poetic verse in his plays, and he uses different forms of poetic verse to achieve different effects. Here I want to talk about Shakespeare's prosody in Midsummer Night's Dream. Prosody is a term that refers to the sound effects of a line of poetry as distinct from the meaning of the words. Shakespeare uses both prose and poetic verse, and he employs different prosodic forms in order to achieve different effects, using rhymed couplets of iambic pentameter oftentimes for comic effects and to be spoken by servants, commoners, lower class characters, as opposed to the aristocrats, the upper class characters. In Midsummer Night's Dream, Bottom, Peter Quince, and the other mechanicals speak prose, while the upper class characters and the fairies speak poetic verse. Typically, in serious moments, the upper class characters will be speaking blank verse. That's unrhymed iambic pentameter. Here's an example of blank verse conveying the seriousness of a moment of crisis from Act 1, Scene 1, when Lysander and Hermia are left alone after receiving the unwelcome news. Theseus' decree that Hermia must marry Demetrius, her father's choice, or not marry at all. Lysander speaks first. "How now, my love? Why is your cheek so pale? How chance the roses there do fade so fast?" And Hermia responds, "Belike for want of rain, which I could well beteem them from the tempests of my eyes." This is an extreme crisis. Appropriately, they're speaking in blank verse. Yet, significantly, in my view, they can't resist invoking trite metaphors of rosy cheeks and rainstorms. And the following lines are no less interesting. They use a form of dialogue that originated in classical Greek drama called stichomythia. Two characters trade alternating lines of dialogue in rapid succession. It creates an effect of intense urgency, and it often signals an altercation or an argument. A good example of Shakespeare's use of stichomythia would be in the scene between Hamlet and Gertrude, when Hamlet accuses his mother of adultery and of complicity in his father's murder. Here, in this scene between Lysander and Hermia, the urgency is evident, no doubt. But I can't resist chuckling at Hermia's responses to Lysander's complaints. Lysander begins with, "Ay me, for aught that I could ever read, could ever hear by tale or history, the course of true love never did run smooth. But either it was different in blood," and Hermia responds, "O cross too high to be enthralled too low." Lysander says, "Or else misgrafted in respect of years," and Hermia responds, "O spite, too old to be engaged too young," and Lysander, "Or else it stood upon the choice of friends," and Hermia says, "Oh hell, to choose love by another's eyes." All this concludes with Lysander's suggestion that they can elope, they can escape to the refuge of his aunt, and under her protection they can be married. Hermia agrees, and in her lines that wind up the dialogue before Helena arrives, she suddenly switches from blank verse to rhymed couplets. I'll read those lines. Hermia says, "My good Lysander, I swear to thee by Cupid's strongest bow, by his best arrow with the golden head, by the simplicity of Venus' doves, by that which kniveth souls and prospers loves, and by that fire which burned the Carthage queen when the false Trojan under sail was seen, by all the vows that ever men have broke, in number more than ever women spoke. In that same place thou hast appointed me, tomorrow truly will I meet with thee." I think in switching to rhymed couplets at the end here, Hermia puts the seal on the comic effect of this dialogue. And as a more practical consideration, sometimes Shakespeare concludes a passage of blank verse with some rhymed couplets as a way of signaling to the audience that the scene is concluding and of signaling to the actors backstage as a cue for their entrance. Now let's consider the effect of these lines in an actual performance. A clip from director Peter Hall's film adaptation of the play from 1968.
Anna, my love, why is your cheek so pale? How chance the roses there do fade so fast?
Belike for want of rain, which I could well beteem them from the tempest of my life.
Ay me, for aught that I could ever read, could ever hear by tale or history, the course of true love never did run smooth. But either it was different in blood,
O cross too high to be enthralled to low,
or else misgrafted in respect of years,
O spite too old to be engaged to young,
or else it stood upon the choice of friends,
O hell to choose love by another's eyes,
or if there were a sympathy in choice, war, death, or sickness did lay siege to it, making it momentary as a sound, swift as a shadow, short as any dream, brief as the lightning in the collid night that in his spleen unfolds both heaven and earth. And ere a man hath power to say, behold, the jaws of darkness to devour it up, so quick bright things come to confusion.
If then true lovers have been ever crossed, it stands as an edict in destiny. Then let us teach our trial patience, because it is a customary cross, as due to love as thoughts and dreams and sighs, wishes and tears, poor fancy's followers.
A good persuasion. Therefore hear me, Hermia. I have a widow aunt, a dowager, of great revenue, and she hath no child. From Athens is her house remote 7 leagues, and she respects me as her only son. There, gentle Hermia, may I marry thee. And to that place the sharp Athenian law cannot pursue us. If thou ask me then, steal forth thy father's house tomorrow night, and in the wood, a league without the town, where I did meet thee once with Helena to do observance to a morn of May. There will I stay for thee.
My good Lysander, I swear to thee by Cupid's strongest bow, by his best arrow with the golden head, by the simplicity of Venus' doves, by that which knitteth souls and prospers loves, by all the vows that ever men have broke, in number more than ever women spoke. In that same place thou hast appointed me, tomorrow truly will I meet with thee.
Keep promise, love. Look, here comes Helena.
Godspeed, fair Helena, whither away?
With that, I'll conclude this webcast. But, as always, if you have questions or comments, send me an email.